Yo, what's going on, guys? Got a brand new episode of Marvel YAP today, episode number 86. We're going to be reviewing the X-Men Origins of Apocalypse season, and then we're going to be breaking down the X-Men End of Day season. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we are joined by the hostess with the mostest, a man who has been climbing ladder faster and farther than anyone I have ever seen before. The one and the only, my friend and yours, notmydance.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I don't know what the voice was. I hate it. Let's restart. No, that's it. That's the line. No, I'm doing well. I will say I did climb a lot this season, right? This was my sweaty season. Apparently, Safety did as well. Did you hear about that?
Yes, I've actually been talking to Safety a bit, and he broke the SP record for that points, and it's still going.
So there's a bug, is apparently the thing where it's like for new accounts, like you get extra SP, and they mentioned, I think for a bit they said there wasn't any, and then they said, oh, it looks like there is one, and we'll look at it. And he just made a new account and is like number one by a landslide. Okay, apparently, like that's kind of cool.
Yeah. And also, he said if he loses 2 cubes, he loses 30 SP. Like for 2 cube losses, which is how much we typically get when we lose like 8 cubes, is like 28.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
How much is he getting for 8 cubes?
I have no idea. All I heard is like how much like you get for losing, and he said 28 or 30, and I was like, bro, that's
insane.
That is wild. But I mean, we have had a longer season too, so that does also add to you know the eligibility to get more snap points. I asked him how close he was going to get to 12K, and he said it would probably take.
What is he at?
To get 12K. He was at 11,400, I think, yesterday. So like he would have to go crazy to be able to. But I mean, if you are getting more SP per wins, maybe it is a little bit more likely. It's not impossible. You just have to play like crazy, I think, in general.
Tell him to hit me up. I'm at least somewhat higher. I'll cube donate. I want to see someone hit 12K. Apparently people are annoyed at it, and I think that's funny.
Yeah. They're like, well,
sorry,
yeah. But I mean, he has an account, I think, also in top 10, I think, and he has one that was ranked 1. So like he's playing on 2 different accounts. Imagine if he only was playing on 1.
It's wild. I honestly think it's so cool. I heard some people were like annoyed at that or whatever, and I don't know, I guess. But at the same time, I'm seeing someone do it, I'm like, that's actually so cool and so goated. And also, right, it's like a really low CL account. It also doesn't have like all the cards. How many cards? Like what? I think I even saw like on Twitter.
He's playing the rock deck.
You could talk about the topics. I just want to see the deck he's playing. Sorry.
Yeah, he's playing a rock deck with, I believe, Celine in it too, which is Horseman of Famine Celine, which is very funny. But topics for today, we're going to be doing a review of the Days of Future Past, or the, Origins of Apocalypse season that we just had, and seeing how we ranked in the way we reviewed cards. And then we're going to be doing the End of Days season. And something actually different about this time when we do the End of Days, we are going to be keeping track of what we had for our rankings for each card. And with the posting of this video, or even maybe prior to it, day of the new season, we're going to be asking you guys what your guys' ranking of the cards are. And then we're going to look back at that at the end of the season and see who was actually closest. And who knows, maybe whoever was closest in the comments, or if it was Mirror Dance, might get a special prize.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So I'm going to just talk about that deck for a second, because I think it's really cool. Super low CL account, and also super free to play friendly account.
Yep.
I love it. I think that's so awesome. I just sent you. Yeah, this is a deck that Safety posted on. Sorry, this is such an unrelated topic, but I thought about this because I heard there's a bunch of driving I had to do yesterday, so I was listening to a lot of podcasts and stuff. I heard about this thing, so I looked into it. It's so cool. This is awesome, and I get people might be annoyed by the fact that like someone is abusing this bug or whatever. There's no reward, so like in actuality, there's no rewards for being top. And also, it's super like low CL. Only cards that were like the only cards that are higher series are ones that you could get for free in game modes. And then there's Celine, who sucks.
Yeah, Celine's not great, but I mean, there's like people aren't playing Shadow King, I think, right now too, and are playing Luke. So
True.
I think that's probably part of the reason why you're able to get the Celine value. And no one's playing Killmonger. So like there are some people like playing Gambit, still Horseman of Death, but even then, there's armor and stuff to be able to like protect lanes, and some of these cards that create these tokens do just have big bodies, and I think that also is very beneficial in this style deck. And then you'll see in some other decks potentially that Dan's and I are talking about later.
I will say, by the way, typically this is a day where we will go over data mines. We aren't doing that.
Yes,
we just straight up are not doing that.
Yeah, we will be going over data mines on the next YAP.
We'll talk about them next next one. So it'll be a bit of a delay. Y'all probably will have them already by that point. But we honestly, did we say why we weren't doing it? I forgot.
Well, I mean, I'm having a kid, so like my scheduling is kind of all over the place, and like so like we're having to restructure a lot of stuff around that. We're gonna be up to date on YAPs for the next couple weeks, and then we should still be good to YAP. Like the YouTube content's gonna be still flowing. It's just after today, I'm taking a break from streaming for a good minute.
Yeah. Speaking of, pull up your image. Speaking of that, y'all, if you haven't done it already, you should be following Tucker, obviously over here on YouTube. Subscribe if you might be listening to this from another place. Go over to his YouTube, or especially, I think, when this is going live in a few hours from when this goes live, Tucker will be doing a datathon celebrating the fact that he's going to have a second kid soon. So he's doing one last 12-hour stream before he has to take some time and step away in order to, be a dad. And he's going to be he's going to be doing some fun stuff. He's got a bunch of cool wheel spins. You can potentially get permanent VIP. You got sub goals. You got everything. I'm stoked to see what everyone does here. So if you haven't already, you should be going over to his Twitch channel. Make sure you follow, sub during that time, I'll say in particular. And not even just that bit. If you are planning on going over to his YouTube, if you aren't certain if you want to go to his Twitch channel, there are going to be Twitch drops at the time on today when this goes live. So another great incentive to go check out Tucker. So TUCCRR, absolutely great guy, great place to get content. Who, trust me, it's wild how much I talk to him and I still consume his content. I feel like that's such a weird thing that I do. I truly think it's weird for me to talk to you about something like we were talking about Daredevil Born Again, and also at the same time listening to all your opinions and thoughts and talks about the cards that are coming out for the season, which we'll talk about here in a bit. It's a weird thing, but I love it and it's so cool. And he's a great guy. Sorry, just check him out. He's awesome.
I think something too is because we can consume each other's content too, is it gives us other ideas and ways to pose our questions here on the app to get better understanding and stuff too, which is something I think that I really, really enjoy. And not at the time the video launches that drops are going to be live. The time the stream launches, drops will be live for the new season. So just keep that in mind. Drops are not going to be live at the same time we post the app, as much as I wish that was the case, because drops are great for everyone. But yeah, that is what we got going on today with that's what safety's doing. But Dance, let's talk about these cards that we have had this season. Of course, I have Cosmic Ghost Rider on screen. It's not a new card from the season, but it's still just a crazy meta-relevant card, especially such a cool, right now, too.
It's also a cool card and a cool variant, right? Which apparently it's not the correct version of Cosmic Ghost Rider. I'm just going to say I don't give a crap. It's cool. Cool wins.
Yeah, whatever. He's about to impale Starhawk. So,
yeah, and that card exists.
But
which actually, is it weird to say that Cosmic Ghost Rider variant I think is the coolest Starhawk looks in any of his variants?
Yes. No, I think that's valid. Unfortunately, I think that is valid. It's probably the coolest Starhawk will ever be, unless bro. Imagine Starhawk gets a buff before Toxie.
I mean, Toxie technically got a buff, but yeah, you're not wrong.
But a legit playable buff.
Yeah. Listen, I expect that. I don't know. I don't know why she doesn't do +3. Let's talk about Ensabanor.
Yeah, so Ensabanor was the brand new first objective card that we got of the season, technically hand in hand with another card. But it was immediately buffed after it was released as well, from a 4/5, 4/8 to a 4/6, 4/9. At first, I did think this card definitely needed a buff, and I think a lot of us did think so, and we weren't surprised that it did get a buff so soon. We weren't really expecting that, but I genuinely do think that this card is playable, and I think this definitely is a card that wins games. It's not one that you have to play in every single deck, and it's one of the best season pass cards ever kind of thing. But the
No.
way this card landed, I think it actually landed in a solid spot, and it allowed a large variety of deck building kind of things. But I think ultimately, one of the main reasons why this card landed in a good spot is more so the White Tiger buff. I think that actually is, you're not seeing it in every single deck within Sabanor, but that as an immediate target to be able to proc value for in Sabanor, I think was very impactful. And White Tiger's play rate is actually way, way better now with that immediate change. I think it's one of the best OTA changes I think we've had in a longer while.
Yeah, it's a great change. I love it. It's a very good change. I'm happy to see it. Who remembers when the Tiger was a 7 powered card, I believe.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And Sabanor's cool. It also it gives you an interesting way to be like, okay, what if my plan for the deck is truly just pulling things out of my deck? Or I guess my hand, right? With the Dragon Lord as well.
Right.
It's a cool strategy. I like the style of deck, and it is just a good card as well now. I honestly still want it to be a 410, but it's fine at a 4.9, so I can't argue it legitimately.
Yeah, no, I think 410 would be very fun, just because, you know, big dumb idiots things. But I think this card landed in a pretty solid spot. But I do think of the Season Pass cards, regular and super premium Season Pass cards that went the wrong way, I think Iska has genuinely landed in a very, very solid spot.
Yeah, I don't know if Iska's a problem if they're going to have to change her, but I also really do. For now, I'm chill with this card. I think this card's fine. I think this is probably the best card to probably have released this season. Maybe I might actually have a secondary, but this is a very good card, and I have no issue with it currently being as strong as it is because I don't feel like it's oppressive. And the biggest part, I think the biggest thing that made Iska okay, or Iska, however you say it, is the fact that they released a mechanic that countered her immediately. Because objective counters her. It stops your abilities because it goes after end of turn. And that's cool. That's interesting. And that also gives you a direct way to be like, oh, wait, this is different. This works in a more powerful way. And you're going to release this card that's probably really strong. And also, here's at least 1 month. Now we're going to talk about the second one here in a second. All full of cards that just counter this plan. So it's cool.
Yeah, and I think also with Iska, something like when you think about the double mechanic, and you think about the last super premium Season Pass card that had a double, which is Man Spider, which Man Spider still is very good. And one of the main differences, though, between like an Iska and a Man Spider, double dynamic is Iska's interactable. Man Spider is not really interactable. So like your opponent scales really, really vertically. You're like, well, I don't really have anything to mess around with or stop this if I don't have the tech for it. Whereas with Iska...
Oh, I died. Anyway, you're good. Keep talking. I don't know why I died.
Whereas with Iska, you can play around Iska a lot more and just not play cards into that lane. Whereas like Man Spider, it's like, well, I also need to account for a Zola or for an Absman or for a Taskmaster, and I need to play around that differently. Whereas Iska, you're more like, well, I can throw this lane and try and win other lanes. Like, I think that's why this seems like a healthier double card than some of the other double cards, which, I mean, the only double card who I think is not necessarily healthy is Man Spider, but Man Spider, I'm still not to the point where I'm like, Man Spider is oppressive. I have to tech for Man Spider all the time. And like this card, it needs to be nerfed kind of thing. Just comparatively to the double kind of mechanic there, Iska seems like a fairer card than like Man Spider.
Yeah, I think it is. It feels like a pretty fair option. And I'm chill with this card. I think it's fine. I've got no issues with Iska. It's very cool. I like her. I'm going to be honest. I don't know if they... How do you feel about Juggernaut?
So, honestly, I have not played Juggernaut since, like, the first week of the season. I've seen him pop off for people, meaning get to that 8 power points, but I'm still, like, at that stage where it's like, is 8 power enough for Juggernaut? And I was fairly high on this card, like, when the season started, too, because I was like, this can be an easy condition to meet. But the way that, like, the meta kind of, changed and scaled for its own, kind of being or whatever, it just felt like this card fell flat. And I think this is definitely feels like one of the weaker cards of the season. Not like a bad card. Like, it's not like a situation where if you're playing this in the deck, you're going to lose. It's just like, this doesn't feel like it has a slotted 12 deck other or 11 other cards you really want to play with.
And I think that's because it's just a generic card. And I think we're gonna have a similar issue when we talk about the other Horsemen of War here in a bit.
Yeah.
It is just a generic, like, big stats card, and that's it. So if it goes in a different deck, it goes in a different deck. And I don't think there's much you can really do to, like, control that one way or another. I think it kind of is just saying, hey, if this is you're just trying to hope as many points as possible with this card. You're just trying to put it into a deck that can generate a bunch of different types of cards. It's unfortunate there, but I still like it.
Yeah, I think it's okay. It's okay for what it does. And then after Juggernaut's release, we did get this guy. We did get Gambit, Horseman of Death, and this card is still incredibly good, incredibly strong. Even after the OTA made it so you have to play 6 cost worth of created cards, that really didn't do all too much to it. It made, some Victoria hand things a little bit harder to do, but I still think this card is incredible. And like the first week or two that this card was in the meta was more bigger guys to kind of, combat this. But as we're still towards like now the later half of the season, this card's back to just being as good as it was like the first week. Like this card is just really, really solid.
There's definitely less of it, which I'm still happy about. But also, I think the reason they nerfed it the way they did was because it legitimately was in the first, I think, like 3 days. It probably was insane. Was my personal guess, because they typically do not nerf cards in the first week, right? That's a very rare thing to do. And they lock OTAs like a week in advance. So if you imagine a week from advance from when this card was hit, the card had been out for like 48 hours approximately. And they already said, hey, this needs a nerf. They were like, okay, we don't know how big of a nerf yet. This is my guess. I have no proof, but like my guess is they had no proof of like how powerful the card was. They're just like, hey, this is already giving up problematic stats. We can hit this and make you pay exactly one more cost, and it probably doesn't change much. But if we look at the early signs, this is probably just a fair tap, and it's also they've shown that they're more, at least as of late, willing to hit down tech cards. So it makes sense there as well. So anyway, I like this stuff. I feel like this is a cool change. I don't know if I'm still okay with the card as a whole. However, it's not as oppressive, and I like the fact that they made a tech card that only exists for one deck. Yeah.
I think like it's literally just Victoria hand stuff. I mean, you can use it with Merlin, you can use it with Thanos, but I think with the main stuff you're using it with, like I made like a destroy hybrid Victoria hand deck that was just so much fun with this. And of course, I got to play this card a lot, so I got to do a lot of different, testing for it and everything too. But
exactly.
We went from Gambit, Horseman of Death, I believe. Then we got, was it Sandstorm that came right before?
Caliban? You're right. I think you're right. Technically, probably Sandstorm next. I don't remember, but I believe it. Sandstorm's a really cool card. Right? The Sandstorm basically being our first interest in saying, what if we had a brand new archetype of rocks? And that's awesome. And I love the fact that they have introduced this archetype to this card. It's a very cool card. And I'm going to be honest, if Gambit's still really powerful,
right?
But I think this might be my favorite card coming out of the season, even more than Ozymandias. It's weird, but I really like the Sandstorm.
Okay. And I think what really helps this card a lot too is the Debris and Rhino changes we've had through the course of time. But like also with Debris and Rhino adding rocks to, either the front row or just, adjacent locations kind of thing. The main, buff with that is the bodies. Debris being a 3/8 and Rhino being a 2/5. That really does help. Like this card also gets you some of that extra value just for filling those, focal locations, which I think is really, really solid, for this archetype and, setting up, the Ozymandias stuff, which is really, really neat,
Yeah, and as someone, I already enjoyed Mole Man, and honestly, this feels like a typically better version of Mole Man because you're not having to get rid of cards in your deck. It also is just a very, I just like the card. I like what this card does. I feel like it's a very cool one, very powerful, and it's a very novel effect. It basically is one of the key enablers I feel like that we have in order to make a brand new archetype, and that's fantastic for us. So I'm stoked about this. I liked this change, or this card introduction, as it were. And How do you feel? All right, I mean, Caliban.
Yeah, so Caliban here. Very, very interesting. So we played some of this when the card released, and I was like, okay, you know, that -7 affliction is pretty good, you know, and like being able to hit other cards and target, you know, the highest cost card on the board is pretty neat. But it really felt like I'm gonna test this card for a day or so, and then yeah, it's just gonna go back into my collection. Like I'm just not gonna play it anymore, kind of thing.
I think this card is fantastic for Doom 2099.
Yeah.
And other than that, I kind of don't see any other point for this deck because I don't know. Like it's doing. If you look at it, I think it's a lot, if not the top Doom 2099 decks. I think most of them are using Caliban because it does just let you, as soon as you have 3 of your Doom bots on the board, or you just play Dr. Doom, right? 2 very easy enablers. You're getting your stuff down. You're getting all your points done with that. So it basically lets this card turn into a 3/11, which is cool, very interesting, and I like that stuff. It's a fine card. I honestly think this is just perfectly fine. I've got no issues with it. We'll see as time goes on if it lands super well, like what they want to do with this, but it has a good home in Doom 2099, and as long as that deck is probably playable, this card is probably going to be fine. I don't really know where you want to play it outside of that, but it's similar, I'd argue, to like Moondragon. Moondragon's playable because of Doom. If you don't have both of them, I feel like if Doom changes, then I don't know if you're playing this card anymore.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think this card it'll be interesting to see like how like some of these, you know, objective cards right now are like Steal or Afflict. Like I wonder if, you know, there's gonna be like a Horseman deck with like Polaris and stuff to get some like interesting interactions, because like Polaris with Selene would be an immediate proc, with Caliban would be an immediate proc for Polaris. So I'm not entirely sure how it's all gonna work out. But yeah, like I said, I wonder how this card is going to age, just like I'm curious on how Selene, Horseman of Famine, is going to age as well, which is a different condition because Caliban, of course, is, you know, 4 cost or higher on the board. You know, you're able to get that, where Selene is, you know, you have to have 3 cards with no abilities in play, and it's like, yes, it works in the Rocks deck. Yes, it could work in Sauron, but I think like if you wanted to play this in Sauron, this needs to be a 4/5. And if you're wanting to play it in the Rocks deck, you play it because you don't have some of these other cards. And I think it's just like feels like the 14th or 15th, if that, kind of card in these decks. Of course, you know, safety is climbing, you know, with Selene, but like safety doesn't also have access to like every single card in the game on that account.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like a replacement card because you don't have other stuff.
Yeah, that's my I guess with it. I think is just that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what safety has the access to. If there were other things that safety had, I bet that safety would be using probably those things. But we aren't in that world. Safety has, you know, those cards, and we both, when we looked at I always have our past rankings as well because I do keep track of those. And last month, this was our second lowest, and I think that's for good reason because it's not a good card.
Yeah, no, I think us looking at this card, I was like, I mean, yeah, cool. It goes to essentially a 4/14. Yeah. But it's like, cool, but
this really, I don't know. I know I was making the joke earlier that I wanted Ensabanor to be a 4/10. This really feels like you gotta, it feels like they're terrified of potentially of this card breaking that threshold. But I think this probably needs to break that threshold of being a 10 powered card when buffed up.
Yeah, it needs to start, like, they need to buff it to a 4/5. Because it would be interesting in those, like, Scar decks to be able to have this as, like, a Selene for Scar.
Yeah, because you get to use all those, what is it? You get to use, I can't remember the one, Sauron. You get to use Sauron, right? And that just gives you everything else that you need there. You can also still play some big cards potentially with debris. Like, you just got your options. And that feels like, okay, use that. And once we get there, feel a lot better, but we aren't there yet. We actually did go out of order, I realized, because the day before Selene came out, technically.
Oh, right. Ozymandias came out the day before Selene came out, so she'd have an immediate card to combo with her, kind of, sort of thing here.
I mean, yeah, this card's awesome.
Yeah, we're not that Face My Dance was not for Ozymandias. That was for Selene. Am I remark
yeah,
about,
exactly. Sorry,
about
it was for Selene.
Because this card,
that was about Selene.
This card is
it's good. It's a fine card.
And it's like a 5/9 body for what it does. It's like, yeah, really solid.
I'm gonna be honest. I think it's probably technically on the lower side of power, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how deep you're going into that
Yeah.
rock archetype.
The rock archetype, as it were. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great card. I like it a lot. I do think it's actually a little weak, but that's still fine. I think it's a cool card and I love it. So I'm fine with this. Like, it's a well-balanced card, and it also gives me more reasons to run cards that I think are that were near dead, which is always fun to see. Like, I'm running Black Swan and Ancient One, which who was thinking about those cards? Patriot's a card that we're talking about here as well. Like, a lot of cool stuff, and I like it. And yeah, Ozymandias is a very fun card. I'm very stoked that the Rock deck exists now. It's honest, like, again, when I talked about the season before, we ranked stuff, Ozymandias was my number one. I really underrated Sandstorm and how much I really enjoyed that as a card as well, because it is just such.
You were telling me, like, why are you so high on Sandstorm?
Yeah, exactly.
Why do you think this is a good card? And I was like, well, I mean, I literally was like, look at the hunger, and it's like similar. They're not like identical, but like, yeah.
My logic was like, okay, but in the end, I'm still paying 4 cost or whatever to do all this stuff. Yeah, I'll pay a 412, especially the one that works with Ozymandias and whatever. Yeah, like Ozymandias is the glue for that deck.
Yes.
I love the whatever you call the glue that is attached to, that is Sandstorm. I don't know what you call that here, but Sandstorm's awesome. It's such a cool card. And
like they're permanently attached. Like they're like permanently attached to each other. They're handcuffed. Like that's kind of like a term you used in like fantasy football.
Yeah, I was thinking about the glue the glue of the deck, and then you went into handcuffs, and I feel like that raises questions for me. No. But I feel like those questions should just be talked about Ramatut instead.
It makes sense. Like the terminology between like a handcuff for a card, kind of like Sentry and Annihilus are handcuffs for each other. But anywho, enough is enough as we go to Ramatut over here. This card was very fun. Very fun.
We both ranked it lowest, and I agree.
Yes, it was the clip farming card, and we hit some great clips with it, but it's like the craziest black cannon, glass cannon ever.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, I'm fine with it. It's a fine card. As long as it's not too good, it's a fine card. If it is too good, I think it is a problem. So currently, Ramatut as is, I'm fine with this guy. He's chill. I don't really like him, honestly, but I understand that a lot of people do, and I think that's also fine. I just think Ramatut's cool. He's chill, and in the end, I don't really have any issues, I think, with him.
Yeah, no. I have no issues with him. If, like Dan said too, if this card gets too good, it's like Airsham. It's like, well, I mean, I guess
exactly.
Whenever it rolls can potentially win the game kind of stuff, which is fun with this card. But I think in general, Dance, if you were to give this season a rating out of 10, or do you want to do a rating out of 5 stars? Which one do you want to do?
I mean, if I say half stars, it can still go to 10. It's this is interesting, right? So the season, you got a lot of options. You have you have a new type of mechanic, which is objective. You have at least one new deck archetype, which is just the Rocks deck. And that's at least one. We can argue that others potentially came out of this season. It's interesting. I probably would still give this it's like a 4-star season, honestly, I think. I think my biggest knock against this season I would probably say it's actually the fact that Ensabanur doesn't work with objectives.
Because when he procs after the end of turn shenanigans to flip the card, that check is already completed when Ensabanur flips.
Because the way that it works for objective checking, I think is my biggest gripe with this season. And and they've done this twice in a row now. And I'm actually going to talk about this more in a different time later. But the fact that when they released Activate, they released a card that didn't work with Activate.
Yeah.
When they release Objective, they release a card that doesn't work with other objectives. And I don't get either of those. It's such a weird choice to me. And I'm personally not a fan of that. I understand why they probably went for it. I understand there's probably logic behind it. I don't understand why, as a season pass card, 2 times in a row, they release a new mechanic and then give you nothing, just say it doesn't work with it anymore. You could maybe argue it's not 2 times in a row, because maybe end of turn, you could say got that keyword season, sure. But still, it's like, you weren't even supposed to use the end of turn. Mr. Fantastic First Steps was the card you used never, I believe, inside of the end of turn deck, even when he was a 2 cost. So it's like, why are they releasing new mechanics? And these season pass cards are the main ones of the entire season. And then they just are not meant to be used in this new with other of the same type typically. It doesn't make sense. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think that's fair too. I think I would give this season probably a 3.5 star out of 5.
Sure.
If I was doing like out of the 10 scale, I was thinking like a 7.7, 7.8 out of 10 kind of situation there, just because like there were some kind of like heavy hitters, like you're saying too, in the sense of archetype defining like Sandstorm and Ozymandias, and then deck buffing, such as like Gambit Horseman of Death, really elevated Victoria hand back up again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had some just kind of meh cards like Caliban and Celine, and kind of like Jug, but then also Iska. Iska was a really kind of crazy end of turn card, something you also played with Shou Lao, which Shou Lao is just still being really good, but also gave you another type of card to be able to play like with like your junk decks, to give you some value into like Annihilus shenanigans. And stuff like there. And then Sabanor was cool. It was cool to see another card that transforms and then, you know, does another ability. Like that was cool, but I agree. Like it not working with the other objective cards definitely was rough. But, you know, seeing the animation and then seeing the animation again, I think was really cool. And I'm hoping that this next season, Dance, we have some potential for some like super crazy things as we do talk about X-Men End of Days. All right, Dance. We have, like you said, another season with objective cards, but dare I say, we have some cooler objective cards, at least maybe in the front and later half of the season than we did this past season, starting with Stryfe.
I feel like they're more likely typically to do, especially as we get a new mechanic, I feel like it's typically better to do a very simple ability for a mechanic.
Yes.
And then do fun stuff and weirder things later on. Stryfe is a very, it is more, I don't even know if it's more complicated. It's actually a pretty simple one here with the, as a 4/6 objective, play 3 on reveal cards. And then once you've done so, you use the highest cost on reveal in your hand. This is going to be the premium season pass card. We talked about this a little bit with Rez, and I do like the card. I think it's a pretty cool card. I think I've heard everyone talk about Fin Fang Foom and Galactus. Do you think it's going to be just those? Like, I'm trying to feel like, I'm trying to think it through and be like, is it
like those are good hits?
I feel like,
but like,
yeah,
you know, the better hits are like you hit an early Shou Lao, you hit a zombie giant man. Like there's a lot of really cool ways to use this, and I corrected myself in Buyer Bust this week after I had listened to KM go over this card, because last time we were on the Yap with Rez, when I saw use, I felt like it made it so you couldn't use the ability on the other card. But the way the use is formed here, it's more like Fire Hair, where you use the ability, but it doesn't consume the ability, so your other cards can't use it. They don't become a card with no ability, which makes the card
Stryfe
better.
Keeps his text as well.
Yes.
So that he isn't a
Grandmaster.
Like, you're not going
like
to be able to
card. Yeah.
Thank you. Well,
yes.
Which, by the way, speaking of, if you want to talk about weirdness, why can you redo objectives if you Zola a card, but you can't do that with activates? That is a really weird arbitrary rule, which is just annoying.
Yeah, and I wonder. Well, I mean, you're completely consuming the card, whatever it does with activate. I don't know.
Then why doesn't it work with activate?
Yeah, because I think also with like, well, and it's different because activate doesn't check the same turn it's played. I think with objective, so it's got to do something with like the ordering of the way things happen, probably. If I were to assume that there, because like end of turn cards can you can Zola and then they go off multiple times.
But it's interesting, right? Because if I activate, like, let's imagine a Spider Ham, and then I transform it into, I'm going to argue, a chamber, I can't activate the chamber. It's a new, because it counts it as the same card.
Yeah, that's even more interesting than like the Zola situation.
And then why? But
Zola is a new card too, technically as well. So yeah,
that's. I don't know that it saves it for some, saves it not for. I hate that. Anyway, card's cool. It's fine card. I have no issues with this guy. I think he's going to be very. This is like an alternate evil version of Cable, I believe.
Yes, and I think this card's gonna be good. And I think this is another card that the on-reveal cards do not have to be concurrently on the board. They just have to be played throughout the course of the game.
Concurrent.
The word of these past 2 seasons. Good old
Yeah.
concurrent. Also, word to the wise, though, my friends. If you guys are looking for some amazing Marvel Snap content from a brand new partnered streamer, look no further than Not My Dance's YouTube channel, where he is posting deck guides, as well as OTA and patch reactions, data mine reactions, and other sorts of creative content. Definitely also check out the podcast he does with guest as well, which is escaping me right now.
Ban list.
The ban list.
Oh, I didn't realize you were trying to like goad me into it.
Definitely,
I
definitely the ban list. No, I literally had forgotten what it was called. My bad. But yeah, definitely check out the ban list too. He does with guests, and then his Twitch content, where he is going to be streaming Snap. I think he probably is at least going to try to stream at least once or twice this week if schedules allow.
I'll stream
kind of thing.
Wednesday morning. It's what I've been able to do consistently during school and everything, and we'll be doing that this week.
Okay, so Wednesday morning during school hours. If you guys make sure you
Outside
do not tell any of his professors about him streaming during the time he's supposed to be in
outside
class.
of school.
But definitely check out his Twitch stream, which will be down in the description below. As well as his Twitter. He said, don't come to school tomorrow. And yeah, make sure you guys check out Dance's content.
Sorry, what?
The Sith Lord Dance, as he does produce a lot of just amazing Marvel Snap content. If you guys are not following Dance on any of those platforms, you guys are missing out on that fantastic content that this man does produce as well. Just like the Techno Organic Virus is going to be producing a bunch of really cool interactions, I think, here as well, which is the brand new Super Premium Season Pass card, the 1-cost skill, which is an on-reveal. Copy this to your hand with +2 cost, infect your other cards here, and replace their text. What you replace it with is infecting the other cards here, like we were saying. Give them +1 power for each Techno Organic Virus you've played. Not each Techno Organic Virus present on these cards here. It is in general how many Techno Organic Viruses you have played. So you can play it on a bunch of cards on the same lane one turn, and then play it on a different lane the following turn, and those cards will get that additional +1 ongoing power. It just can continually infect a variety of different cards. But if you infect the same three cards 3 times, and then you affect another card on a different lane for the 4th time, they all get that +4 ongoing. It's not like these 3 got an additional +3 opposed to this other one only getting +1 ongoing.
Yeah. Which is, I'm excited about this card. This is a super cool new card, a very interesting way to, it's not quite a buff, but it is like I feel like it's going to be a different version, I'm going to say, of like that Surtur deck, Scar deck. Not really either one, honestly, probably, but still like, that's why I say it's like a different version of that like no abilities cards that with Sauron, I feel like.
Yes.
But
I wonder with Surtur, I don't think this works that way, but like if you had a card at 9 power, and you've Surtur on the board, and you play the skill. Yeah, I don't. But the thing
you
is,
didn't play a card
because it's a skill and not a card. Because you're not playing something like Hulkbuster. Hulkbuster works because it merges.
Yes,
that's why it works.
Because it then is the card.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Weird stuff there. Anyway, sorry. Terror Virus is such a cool card. I'm stoked about this one. This is, as mentioned, right, this is going to be the Super Premium Season Pass, in addition to the fact that it will also be in the Series 5 Snap Packs. Very awesome skill. I'm stoked about this one. There's a lot of really fun stuff to potentially do with this card. I'm excited for it. I already mentioned earlier that I've enjoyed more use cases for Black Swan, and this is, again, I'm going to shout that as one of my personal favorite, again, use cases for this card, which I don't know if it's still going to be good, but that is a use case that I'm interested in messing with and discussing and trying to, cope on it.
Yeah, it works with Black Swan. It works with Mobius. It'll work with Quinjet because it is a copy of the card.
Well, yeah, it'll become a 2, and after you use it, it'll be a 2 cost and a 4, and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. It also would work with Gambit Horseman of Death because it is a created card in your hand as a copy. So you will be able to trigger that. But it is a base cost 1, so you would have to reproc it multiple times continually to be able to get that Gambit value. It's just something to note there. And then the next card we do have releasing like we're talking about, it's very interesting. The objective cards they are releasing with the brand new season, these past 2 seasons, whether it was Juggernaut and now we have Wolverine, Horseman of War, which, by the way, before even reading out the ability, this card has some of the coolest variants for a new card. Like, they're absolutely insane variants here.
They are, I think, honestly, for the most part, of I think all the cards this actually, you know, I'll save the Horseman. The Horseman this season I'll cook.
Yes.
I think the rest of them, you know, the Virus as well. The Virus as well is awesome. Those 5 cards this season have exceptional variants, including base art.
Yes.
You get, once you start going beyond those, it does start to question it a little bit, but it's so cool. And Wolverine Horseman of War, though, is a 4-cost 3-power card with the objective. This has 5 or more power, and that is, it has to be on the board for it to do it, for what it's worth. Once you've done that, you give one of your cards at each location plus 3 power, and then it's showing a little tracker at the end to show how much it's done of its own ability. This is such a cool card, I think, but I also have no idea what to do with this card. I think that's one point I think you talked about, again, in your buy or bust. I think it's a fine card, but it gives you the similar problem of Juggernaut. What deck are you putting this in? Where does this want to go? You can do simple stuff with like a Galacta or a Forge, and that can work. And Vision is a newly buff card, right? You could just play it on its own. But beyond that, I'm looking at it like, what then? What am I doing afterwards? And it's interesting.
Yeah, this kind of gives me the feel that Kahori had on Kahori's release, where it was, we already have Gwenpool, we already have Galacta in the game, and now we're getting Kahori. Kahori, of course, it is different because Kahori is an on reveal, and, you know, it varies on the amount of cards you have in your hand.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the 4-cost buff style cards, and the cool thing, of course, with Wolverine is that it can buff itself if it does hit the end of turn, or the, you know, the objective, because it says give one of your cards. It doesn't say give one of your other cards. So that's something that's pretty cool with Wolverine, and like you can target cards better the way you position them in, you know, your lanes. Having cards individually in other areas can allow you to get some of these like really cool buffs there. But
yeah,
I still have to buff Wolverine to 5 power. And then it is the end of turn in order to be able to get this objective to go off. And it's like, would I rather just have a Galacta to be able to do things here? Do I need the extra energy? And it's a 4-cost card. Being a 4-cost card makes this really rough. If this was a 3-cost card,
I don't think it can do that. I just don't think they could.
It would be
It
crazy.
would be better. You could use it,
yes.
but I don't think they could do a 3-cost card currently with it. Maybe it'd be +2, but it would have to. I don't know. It's still maybe as a 3/2 with the same ability with a +2.
Yeah.
Same, like you need still 5 power. Maybe you could do it there.
Or what if you make this? You make it a 4/4, so all you have to do is give it 1 more power to be able to do.
I mean, so this was data mined originally to need 6 points of power.
Yeah.
And they did change it to be 5, which is interesting to say the least. There's, I don't know. So these are all the cards that we are getting today as of the season releasing, and as per usual. There's interesting stuff here. There's a lot of stuff. I think that we just don't know stuff until we're going to mess with things. And I kind of want to talk about the decks that we have because I want to talk about your decks is more the answer here.
Yeah, we'll jump right into that.
Wait, so when I said I wanted to talk about the cool decks that you had, you pulled up my decks instead?
Yes, I mean, we always go you first.
Do we always?
Wait,
do we actually?
Not. More often than not, we go.
Oh, okay.
First, yeah.
I've never noticed that, and it's been a while. I've literally never noticed. That's anyway. Okay. All right. So my question here is, do I really want to try to use am I really going to be consistently trying to do Fin Fang Foom or Galactus or Shu Lao with Stryfe? And I know those are probably going to be the easy answers, and a lot of people are going to go there. But if I'm looking at this guy, I honestly think that Aurora is a very good shout for a place so you can mess with this. Now, I think my biggest problem I currently have is maybe not enough on reveals, and maybe I want another big one as a top end. But it's still like, I like what this deck potentially is doing. I think end of turn is pretty powerful. And Stryfe being a second copy of Aurora when I need it to is really good, and could potentially even allow me to play on the final turn, put down Stryfe and then 2 other cards, 2 other 1-drops, and really pop off. So it's like, oh, we'll see. Or you get to do it twice, right? And that's also so there's a lot of options with this stuff, and I want to mess with it here first, even before, as someone who loves Foom, I want to mess with it here.
Yeah, I think I actually like this Stryfe shout a lot. I think since it happens like after end of turn 2, giving you a lot of cool value, and I think one of the biggest upsides about Stryfe is that it does target the highest cost card in your hand.
Yes.
If it had just been on
I had
reveal,
people.
it would have been like, ooh. But like since it targets the highest cost, it makes it really solid here.
That's what makes the card good. Because if it didn't target the highest cost card, it's a random thing and it sucks.
Yep.
Its value goes down so much further. Maybe it doesn't suck, but it's like a lot worse. But the fact that it is targetable is a massive deal here.
Yeah. So I think I like this. I hadn't thought about it as an Aurora copy, but like an early Aurora is always something you're not mad about, especially with like the cards you have going on in here. So I think that is a great idea. After I was in KM Street the other day, they were talking about doing it in zombie things, and I was like, wait, that actually is a really, really fun card for some zombie stuff. Of course, I'm using Werewolf. Werewolf should not proc from Stryfe, by the way.
Nope.
Because it's not a flat on revealed kind of card.
Similar to when Firehair doesn't move Werewolf by Night.
Because you're not playing the on revealed card for Stryfe to happen here. But you're using this to either get Zombie Giant Man or Sholau as a card to be able to get that early on reveal. There's a world where maybe you want to do like an Abs Man or you want to do maybe Grandmaster things, but rough draft wise, it's early Zombie Giant Man is pretty good. Early Sholau is pretty good. So this is more based off of Bryant's from my Discord's kind of zombie deck that he's been having a lot of success with. And you have Prodigy in here. Prodigy
I don't like it.
Is very interesting for a bunch of different things, whether it is for a Stryfe, whether it is for another zombie Scarlet Witch, whether it is for getting Sholau, maybe you proc an early Sholau and make Sholau go off again. Prodigy is kind of something you can order around some of the other skills you have too, to be able to do some crazy things, or like a Kitty Pride. Like there's a world where instead of Prodigy, you just do Hope Summers, and like Hope Summers also is just a really good shout to have extra energy to do things. But I'd be probably testing this version first and then probably testing another version with Hope Summers to see which one I like more. Or you could also have Surge in here. Surge is another just a really good card to have in some of these like style decks. But I think with Zombie Giant Man and Sholau, Stryfe, just those are some really strong targets for him.
Yeah, I don't like the Prodigy still, honestly. Like I can see the reason behind it, but I still don't think I'm a big fan of it. I'd rather probably be going, honestly, Grandmaster or like a Deafening Chord. I feel just another thing that could be played onto the Zombie Scarlet Witch lane. Maybe not Deafening Chord, maybe it's still like a Surge there. But I think I want a 2-drop in that spot more so, because your 3s are a little, I don't know. It'll easily work still, and I'd be down to see it. But Merlin's skills, right? We talked about that concurrent stuff. Merlin's skills all work. The Prowler skills count. Hunger counts as an on reveal. Those are all on reveal cards. And again, I'll point why I don't know if I love Prodigy, because if you play him and he doesn't copy an on reveal, he won't count.
Yeah, which I mean,
similar to how Werewolf.
I mean, if he doesn't copy an on reveal, maybe I don't want to proc a Stryfe early, kind of
that's
thing.
Fair.
So that's another reason for Prodigy.
So that's the one I'm interested in, and I'm gonna be. I want to see how that goes for you, because that's the one I question most, and I do like the zombie shout in particular, because zombies and dragons are very good together.
Yeah, I might also have to use like armor or something here if there's a lot of Gambit Horsemen of Death. So, we'll have to see what happens here. But the next deck that Dance has is going to be a Techno Organic Virus Rocks deck, which I really like the idea. And this is just such a great concept that I really enjoy as well.
Yeah, this is a very fun one too. I like it. I honestly wasn't certain about Prodigy at first, but I actually have, in the end, I've got 4 different ways to cheat out the virus. I've got Jennifer Kale, Black Swan, Herbie, Herbie and Prodigy are both like halfway kinda, because you can technically use Herbie as an, whatever the energy thing. Prodigy could potentially copy, like, honestly, I'm considering using Prodigy on a Black Swan so that I could potentially activate the first Black Swan, play the Techno Organic Virus for free, and then activate Prodigy the turn following, and do it again. I also threw Nico in this deck, and I think Nico's the strangest shout here. But Nico for the copy mode in particular, as well as destroying some of these other cards, I honestly kind of still like that idea. I think the destroy mode's the worst one, but moving cards and being able to position stuff in regards to the Sandstorm needing all the front lanes, there were enough things that I liked about this, and Luna Snows felt fantastic inside of these industrial rock decks, inside of rock decks from what I've played. And I was previously running Ancient One, but honestly, Techno Organic Virus is replacing Ancient One in this style of deck. And I think that's still cool because you talked about this in your Fire Bust. Ozymandias doesn't care what the text of those other cards are. All he cares about is that they have the name Rock. So they could have abilities and he would still buff them. So thusly the Techno Organic Virus, you want to do that there. So we'll see how it goes. I'm interested in how many cards you want to how many cards you want for the first Techno Organic Virus. Like, am I okay with playing one and then, or no cards even, and just using the virus? I don't know, and I'm stoked to find out.
Yeah, there's a lot of like really cool stuff and like interesting kind of like combos you can do. I think with this to be able to add the power to the board, and since like it is a global power too, that'll buff your other ones. Not having to play it on the same lane over and over and over again is, I think, something that I also really like with this card in general. So like this is going to be a very fun home for it, and definitely something I was like, yeah, this is something you work with. And then I did Scaron. The thing is with Scaron here is you are determining if you're playing Sauron or not, depending on if you have Mobius in hand or in deck and your Techno Organic Virus. So that's kind of the general thought process there. Also, if you do get the Mobius, you can potentially get your Ebony Maw to 10 power in 3 procs of Techno Organic Virus in order to get that Scar value. So that was kind of the thought process there, is instead of also having to 0 Ebony Maw, you can Techno Organic Virus Ebony Maw. So then you have a big 1-drop you can play out onto the board and be able to have a 1/8 potentially in a lane. Of course, that does use a Techno Organic Virus proc, but having a 1/8 on the board more often than not is pretty good kind of thing there. Of course, Starbrand, Ares, Typhoid Mary, Enchantress, Red Skull. Also an Enchantress. If you have Luna Snow, you can play Enchantress and Techno Organic Virus potentially on the same lane, and then you can get your Enchantress up to 10 power a little bit later on. There's a bunch of like interactions. Like Enchantress, you would tempo on 4, but you can't necessarily get like 210 until like turn, turn 6. So it wouldn't necessarily give you the Scar value. But using Techno Organic Virus on something like a Red Skull to mitigate its ability, like using Techno Organic Virus kind of like a 0 or like an Enchantress is kind of like the thought process I've been thinking of. In this style deck, there was a world where I was running like a Zabu with like extra 4-drops and stuff. And maybe I'm not running Mobius because I'm like, I have Luna Snow for ramp, but I like the idea of a Mobius, or maybe it is, like you said, like a Black Swan to be able to mitigate the cost of a Techno Organic Virus. But I do think there's a home with Sauron stuff. And there definitely will be, if it's not Scar Sauron, it'll be like a Tech Sauron, like a Sugi Sauron kind of thing. You can do a Techno Organic Virus because the Techno Organic Virus will probably help you get Prio in a lot of different situations too, because you're going to have a lot of power in a bunch of different spots, which would help with the Sugi Negasonic potential things too.
I'm just realizing like how good. I think that one of the best cards that I don't know if you've talked. I don't think you talked about it, but I think actually I'm realizing one of the best cards that is going to probably work with Techno Organic Virus is Luna Snow, because you get the extra energy to play it, to play the virus for 1, and then for 2, you also get an extra body that on the final turn you could just turn into. Like that's a. That's I hadn't thought about that and how good it was. Yeah, but like that's such a good shout as a thing, and we both had it, but I realized like that's the card that is. Probably going to be one of the best ones for it. So just wanted to shout that as a interesting note.
Yeah, no, I think like this card, like, yes, it's only +1 for each time you play it, but the mitigation you get to apply to cards that have bad abilities or to get exponential better value on cards you've used, like with the Luna Snow. Well, I mean, I have the Ice Cube going into, turn 6. What do I do now? But it's another body, like you said, that I can now buff up. And if I've played 2 or 3 Techno Organic Viruses, this is a 1/3 now Ice Cube that I have on the board. So, like, there's a lot of cool stuff I think you can do with this. And, like, I like the Scar value a lot. Like, even, like,
the Scar's
Surge.
Gonna be good, too.
Like, you use Surge, and, like, you're not doing anything with Surge on turn 6, so you play this on the lane, you played Surge. Like, this, if you could keep this a 1 cost, that's where you're really going to start the snowball, is because then it's cheaper to play over and over and over again. When it gets more expensive, that's when it does get a bit unfortunate. And of course, you're wanting to play it as many turns in a row as you possibly can. And the thing about it is, the way to stop Techno Organic Virus is you have to either Cosmo it so it doesn't add another copy back to your hand. Because even if you Cosmic Ghost Rider the cards in the front row, that still doesn't mitigate the amount of times you've played this card. Like, you have to Cosmo, or you have to Cosmic Ghost Rider, Red Guardian, or Deafening Cord like the Mobius. Because the ongoing keeps track about the amount of times you've played it, not the amount of cards that are infected.
True. I just realized I really don't like Enchantress in this deck.
Well, I mean, if you don't have Sauron and you don't have Techno Organic Virus, you could do 0, but like you have Enchantress. Like, Enchantress was like a third, or I guess technically a fourth option. There's totally a world where you put something like a Debris, or you put something like another big 4 body, and maybe you do like the Surge, or you do a Lizard. Like, there's a bunch of different.
Can I give you a really weird one potentially?
What?
Thaddeus Ross.
Thaddeus Ross would be interesting. I would probably
I don't know if it's correct.
I would probably go Surge before Thaddeus Ross, or even I would go Gladiator.
Gladiator's. We'll see how he does in the next season.
Gladiator, just like a 3/8 body. I like, because then it can get to a 3/10 pretty easily. So if it is a Debris, like, there's a bunch of interesting stuff to be able to mess around with, I think.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, Enchantress could also be good against, like, as a counter piece to people running
exactly.
it. So maybe that's still a good place for it. But it's when I'm realizing, like, that's the only card that I look at this and I'm like, I don't know. But also, I'm excited for this Techno Organic Virus feels similar to Rock's deck, and not just because I put them together, because it's like, this is a brand new style of deck that we're gonna have to figure out what really works and what is supposed to be here. So I'm excited for that stuff. Yeah, and then
you got this. You got this card over here, which, so like, I thought I was coping with my Wolverine Horseman.
That's a start. I'm taking
deck.
a sip.
But I think this is slightly more cope. I also did hand buff. This is some hand buff / board buff shenanigans.
I put Shang-Chi in here. I know.
Yeah, the Master of the Ten Rings is something I was thinking about doing, but I was like, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not going to be that dumb, right? No one would be that dumb. Yeah, I'm that dumb. By the way, I just like the name of this deck as a war buff, right? That's literally what you call someone, and then it's anyway. I think it's a cool style. I think hand buff legitimately is like, if I think of a deck that actually would want a Wolverine, there's exactly one deck, and it is hand buff. And like, maybe you could argue Surfer. I think that's the second place that I feel like you could maybe be trying to argue things. Other than that, it's just like, okay, I'm just going to put this in a generic deck, and it doesn't have a specific role there. But Viv Vision is spectacular. She is so good. There's no reason that she is as good for her to be as good as she is. And I like messing with all the 1-drops. I like messing with the 10 rings, which potentially could be an additional way for you to trigger Wolverine. I've got, let's see, Surge, who can add points, Nico can add points, Viv adding points, Gwenpool adding points, Maverick adding points. Like, I've got a lot of ways potentially for you to add points. We'll see if it's enough and if it'll even work out. But if I'm arguing for more things that really do want the points, I've got Mr. Sinister, which again is also, you also have Nico for both adding and receiving points because of her 2x mode. You've got Clea, you've got Sebastian Shaw, and we'll see how Wolverine does. I'm excited about that one.
Yeah. I like the idea, like the concept of this. Because
we'll see if it lands. I love that statement because it's like the deck won't work, but I like this idea. That's what you're meaning, and I love it.
I have Swipe for Buffs as the name of my deck.
Sure, okay.
Which is similar in concept as yours, but I'm going into the Mysterio Brood Mr. Sinister route. Also having Maverick, Luke Cage, and I'm going Gwenpool Galacta. My deck is way more expensive. But I have different ways to buff cards and stuff too, like yours, and I'm not limiting draws with Shang-Chi.
Sorry, you were really quiet there when you said I'm not limiting draws with Shang-Chi. Just so you know that. I don't know why you were so quiet when you said that bit, but you said that really quietly.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay. You know, that's, where like Wolverine is really like the 14th or 15th card in this. Like, I think you can probably play a deck like this honestly right now and just not play Wolverine and actually do decent. If you're not running into Stardust, you're running into Stardust. It's not great.
Yeah.
But Luke Cage with Mysterio, I like a lot in here as a way to, you know, just add buffs to cards. And you probably would do, instead of Wolverine, you would do like a Sholau, if you're being like really honest.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Shula should be in here.
Yeah, it should be Sholau.
This is you take out on it. You what is it? You're taking out Galacta, and I'm gonna argue take out Brood. I'm gonna argue taking out Brood, and then you put in Shulao and
like
Kitty Pryde.
Yeah, and I think this deck works. Like, I think like you generally could take out Galacta and Gwenpool, and that's why I was like, I don't just want to make a Sholau deck. I don't just want to make a Sholau deck, but you could.
It's going to be a
Sholau deck.
It's a Sholau. I mean,
yeah.
Everything can be a Sholau deck. We're not talking like this is an off week as well in terms of like there's no OTA to talk about coming up, and there's also no OTA like we could talk about that just occurred, and we'll see. There, I'm going to shout this because I think it's hilarious about. Listen, I'm just going to give you a PSA just in general. If people are being dumb, if you're dealing with dumb people, stop calling people dumb is all I'm going to ask here. And instead of calling people dumb, just say that instead of them actually just being dumb, I think it's fair to say those people are limiting Shulau's win rate from being nerfable. And I think that's currently Tucker made that insult to me in DMs. And he said, I don't want to be mean, so don't do this. And I said, no. You tell people you say not to call people dumb, and then it's a compliment. And you've removed a dumb word. And yes. It's also hilarious. And I stand by this, and I'm crediting it's hilarious. Stop
calling people dumb
being
and
the
just
reason.
Say that they're the reason why Shulao is not getting nerfed. That's all you gotta say.
And yeah, if you understand, you understand. Like, that legitimately got me laughing, chuckling out loud when he sent that as a text, and that needed to be shared.
This card though, Dance, like I think like I had a Sholau deck with this, and it is like the Stardust Sholau deck, but like I also don't enjoy playing Stardust and everything too. So like, but it was like it's a tech kind of Sholau deck. Where like the cool thing about Wolverine is that it does, you know, target cards potentially. You know, it has a card in each row or each lane that gets hit by +3. So it could hit a Maverick, it could hit like a Mysterio, it could hit like a Viv Vision and stuff like. So it's cool, but it's just like, is it worth, you know, the investment there? And when do I want to play this card? Like literally. When do I want to play this card? Is my board going to be in the right state to be able to just play this? Like, you're not really going to tempo this. Like, it's just really, really interesting to kind of, you know, see how that works. And I feel like that's not the only card this season that I actually feel that way about. I feel like some of these other cards that we have coming out too kind of feel a little bit similar. Not necessarily this card. This card's very interesting. I've seen people talk about Ascani Sun as one of the sleeper cards of the season, as this Series 4 Deadpool's Diner card that is a 2-cost, 3-powered activate. Create a 1-cost card at another location. Increase the cost each time you're winning here, where Ascani Sun is, as the turn starts.
Yeah, this is releasing in Deadpool's Diner, which is coming back on April 9th. And this is such a cool idea. To be very clear with the way that this works, right? The increase the cost each time you're winning here as the turn starts. That is saying you are then can create a 2-cost card if you're winning here as the turn starts. Then a 3-cost, a 4-cost, however you get in terms of that. And I do believe it doesn't like stop, similar to the way that if you look at Herbie, Herbie stops cycling once you use the activate. However, if you somehow activate this again with like a Jocasta as a 3-cost, you will then you wait and you then activate it again on its own, potentially when it's a 4-cost ability, then it would still work. Like, that all is still working there. You can get I think it's 4 costs is the max, right? But it does a really cool thing of making you or forcing your opponent to play to the board early. Ascani Sun is a very cool card.
Yeah, I think conceptually when I was reading it, I was like, okay, so you activate, you create a 1-cost. Does that 1-cost transform? But I think you just explained it really well, that the way the activate actually works here is if you're winning this location, the text changes from being a 1 cost to a 2 cost
Yes.
before you activate it. And then if you're winning,
again for in the
yes.
activate text.
Yes, in the activate. And then after that, it would be then going to a 3 cost, and then it would go to a 4 cost. So like you don't necessarily activate this early unless, you know, you're unable to really complete this kind of thing. Like if you start losing this location, let's say you play this turn 2, on turn 3, let's say you're losing this location, it's still going to be set at 1 cost. If you go into turn 4 and you're winning the location, then it goes to 2 cost. And then that's when it snowballs kind of thing. It's not like okay, well, I'm winning this location on turn 3, I'm losing turn 4, I'm winning turn 5, that it skips to the next 2 costs. It does check, I believe, concurrently to see if you were winning then to be able to activate and create that other costed card.
Wait, say that last sentence again. Wait, are you saying it's activating on? Now you got confused me.
So
Wait, what?
The way the activate works is the activate changes depending on if you're winning the location or not in the start of the next turn. So like you play this on turn 2, on turn 3, if you're winning the location at the start of turn 3, it would be a 2 cost you can create, right?
Yes.
But let's say you're losing location at the start of turn 3, it's still at a 1 cost. So then if you're winning the location at the start of turn 4, instead of it going up to a 3 cost to create, it would go to a 2 cost to create. It doesn't skip.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Okay. Yes.
Steps,
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So it also, which doesn't, to be fair, it actually doesn't even say increase the cost by 1. It says increase. There's a world where this says you increase it by 2 each time. That isn't a real world, I'm betting, but also it doesn't specify that, and I just noticed that. But this is it's.
Wait, what?
I'm assuming so.
Imagine
there's no shot.
Is random number generator.
Nope. I'm not even. That is a. Glenn leaves and they've lost their wording, right? They never even fixed the cost stuff that I complained about.
It's like high voltage, and you're like, okay, well, what is it going to increase by this time? What is it? You know how crazy?
God,
this
why
card
does
would be
everything stop? It doesn't make sense. I hate that one bit of high voltage overdrive where it says we're going to transform everything into higher cost cards. No, you're not. Stop lying to me. So over that. Anyway, this card's cool. I think it's a fine card. We'll see how busted this really is. I like it. Is the next card Polaris?
No.
Archangel. Horseman of Death is the actual card, releasing on April 14th into Series 5 with the stat line 2 cost, 3 power, and the objective ability, your cards are destroyed 4 times. Once that's done, you resurrect one here with +4 power. The only thing I think you're doing with this card is you can destroy a Venom or a Carnage, and then it comes back.
Yeah, you destroy a Venom or a Carnage because you're not really playing this in like the Fire Hair Phoenix Force deck, unless you're playing this potentially into the game. Like you're not trying to get a revive out early kind of thing. This would be like a situation where you don't have Elixir, you don't own Elixir kind of thing, and you've destroyed 4 cards. Like it's going to be interesting. I mean, you're using this on, like you said, like a Carnage or a Venom, maybe a Marrow. Maybe you are using this on like a Lindley. Like there's gonna be like some very like niche interactions with it, but it has to, like, the card revived has to be in your destroy pile. The cards destroyed don't have to go to your destroy pile. You just have to.
That's a very good distinction.
For cards in the game.
Yeah, right. So I can destroy a Deadpool who goes back to my hand. That is fine. And he's not resurrected back in my hand. He just returns to my hand. Is what happens. So when you look at Resurrect one here, it has to be a card that when I destroy it and after it is destroyed, you click on the little destroy tab in game, and it tells you, hey, this card is destroyed, or the similar area where it would be discarded, or the area you can see your skills after you in the banish, right? That's the area you want to look at for this card, which again, the art for this is fantastic. This guy looks so cool. The season art or whatever is, God, it's awesome. But also this card is not, I don't think it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think this card, like, it'll have some really cool games for you where you hit the combo and you get the stuff down, but I think the consistency of it is going to be one of the biggest like downsides, I think, of Archangel itself. So it'll be interesting to see how it really, falls and like kind of thing, but it's gonna be tough. Like it's just one of those like destroy cards where it's like it's cool in concept getting +4 onto a destroyed card. But looking at like the relativity, what am I swapping out for this? Like,
this is the weapon. This is Weapon X.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it would be Weapon X, but it's like, what exactly, like, I can do Morgan Le Fay things. Like, you have this as an alternate Morgan Le Fay, but
It's
it's
also not
like,
targeted.
yeah, it's not targeted. It just looks at one card that's in your destroy pile and revives one of them, you know? So
Yep.
+4
With
is
plus
nothing
4,
to scoff at, but like,
honestly, that
yeah.
might be what saves this, right?
Yeah.
Like the +4, it does turn this into at minimum, like potentially like a 2/7 kind of, which that could be enough to be like, oh wait, no, I care about that +4. I don't believe it personally, but if someone came to the was in the future and they're like, hey, no, that +4, it's actually really important. It really matters. I'd be like, I believe that.
Yeah, I mean, Galactus is like interesting. If you destroy 4 of your cards, you play Galactus, and then this afterwards could be.
I was kind of feeling that, yeah, because you could go even with honestly with Stryfe, right? Stryfe, Galactus, Archangel could be a thing you look at.
Yeah, even like Misery is a combo card for this too. Like, it'll be interesting.
But the problem is you're reviving Hood repeatedly, and that's typically not something you want to bring back.
You don't have to just do Misery in the Hood decks.
No,
like,
but Hood can come back, is what I mean. And that you're typically running Misery and Hood together. And so then you have Hood, which is, you can get a 1/1.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of
check out his buy or bust.
See what happens
with all of that stuff, whatever he does.
Yeah, and this will be this is next week. Oh yeah, this is next week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, well I'm excited for this one. But I am actually excited for Polaris Horseman.
He wasn't actually excited, by the way, just so you know. He wasn't excited right there. That was the
that was the bit. I am excited for Polaris though. Polaris is a 2-cost, 2-powered Series 5 card. Objective: cards in play are afflicted with -5 power. Put a card from your hand here, which is
now
pretty good.
She is Dr. Octopus for some reason. Also, it does say I think the one thing I think we've repeatedly said when we're talking about Polaris is it counts your cards and your opponent's cards, and it also can include herself.
Yes.
So all of those things matter. Have you played with Affliction recently? Because I know last time we talked about this card with Rez on the pod, I said that setting your card to 0 with Anti-Venom didn't work. Have you tested that since then with him? I haven't, and I was wondering about that now.
I haven't tested it with him either. I thought it did work, so I could be wrong because like it is like a negative affliction on a card if it is like a 0-powered card.
I thought that's what I'd argue it should be, but I don't think it does, which is weird. I don't know. We'll find out later on, but yeah. Anyway, this card is fantastic. It's cool. And do you still want to run Malekith in an Affliction deck with this card? My question here. I think I'm gonna. You know what? Yeah, answer this. I'm gonna ask Glazer about this when we talk to him.
I think you still run Malekith. You of course keep in mind that you could pull Polaris, but like it depends on the style of Affliction you're playing. And then also at the same time, I think the biggest gripe I have with this is that Luke Cage still needs to get adjusted. Like,
you're not hearing any argument.
And like in general, like there needs to be some sort of maybe Luke Cage mandate, because like the argument's going to be, well, there's other cards that counter entire decks. Like Mobius completely counters Mr. Negative, or Mobius counters Pixie. But like, it's like, yes, but like what Luke Cage does as like an end-all be-all kind of thing, it just is a bigger gripe for me. That completely obliterates like
you want me to? I'll give you a take here. Not even the fact that it obliterates an archetype. I think in the same way that Luke Cage is a problem, Hazmat's a problem. Because how are they supposed to introduce new cards that afflict and make them in any way, shape, or form competitive, or at least bring a card like this into the game, and then just be like, oh yeah, and then there's just Hazmat who does everything.
Yeah. Like a regular
honestly,
Hazmat, right? Yeah. I'm thinking of Polaris and Hazmat. It confused me because the time.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not. No.
Yeah.
But like, I honestly, if we're talking about stuff that's problematic, and it's weird, I've recently came to this, because all you have to do is just play Hazmat after this card, basically. And that's typically going to be enough for you to trigger it. I think Hazmat is all. I'm going to give you the take that if and when Luke Cage gets changed, Hazmat needs to get changed. I think both of them should get nerfed at the same time to not be as universal, so that other Affliction cards can be better. Because in my opinion, if Hazmat gets nerfed, I don't know how. And that's not, maybe it's not, still not correct. And I'll be told, you can argue with me and say I'm wrong entirely for wanting Hazmat nerf. Because I want Affliction to be a real thing, but I don't think it can be a real thing with Hazmat as just universal as she is. Is my current problem there. I think US Agent's a cool card. I'd like to be able to run US Agent or maybe a man thing, but why in the world would I play those cards, which it costs so much more, require so much more specificity, in order for them to be more targeted and do less, more often than not, than just a Hazmat on the final turn? It doesn't make sense to me. So,
well, they do more than a Hazmat can potentially in those lanes. Hazmat does more overall, but like potential the lanes, like what they could do. There's
a potential power there, but that's a potential power, and that's not a realistic power, as we've seen oftentimes. So I don't know. Maybe it still is fine, but I honestly think that both of those cards should get nerfed together, because I think that if you make Affliction have to be, give them more tools, like make the other tools in the deck better. This isn't even a thing where I could say power creep. The problem is we had too good of a tool immediately. We got the Mystery Mauska tool immediately, and I'm trying to offer you a wrench.
I don't know. I think
right, like Hazmat's base game,
and then you can change Hazmat.
I agree both. I've been on the change Luke train. English sucks for months. Years, honestly. Like, I don't like the card either. But honestly, I also think that Hazmat's a problem too. And that's a more recent thing. And I want Affliction to be playable. So it's like, it's weird that I'm saying this. I don't know. I just wish, I think if you still nerf Luke and you also nerf Hazmat, I think Affliction becomes playable. I'll give you that take, because you just increase the valuability of the other cards. I just don't think Hazmat is a good card.
Yeah, we'll see kind of what happens there. And then
sorry, that was a wild soapbox to go on. I didn't realize I was going on.
It was a very interesting take. The next card we have going on over here is
the most. Okay, speaking of busted cards, by the way, did my last take make you want to take a sip of water? Feel like that? In your mug, you need that with the.
Take a chug jug, bro.
Yeah, there you go. It's a 4/4 with Mother Ascani. And Mother Ascani is insane, y'all. On reveal, give the leftmost card in your hand +2 power and -1 cost, then copy it. Oh my lord, why is this a thing? Shu Lao is insane, even better now. This is dumb. This card should not exist. Not even mentioning the fact that if I somehow do this twice, again, I'm going to imagine Shu Lao is the leftmost card in my hand. Yeah, that I could do it once and I get a 4/8 Shu Lao. 2 of them. Do it twice, I get a 3/10.
You talking about like Grandmastering this card?
Grandmaster, Wong, Silver First Steps, anything that doesn't on-reveal. I don't care. Honestly, Stryfe's going to be a good shout with this card.
Yeah, this card just...
I can't... It's dumb.
Series 4, by the way, is a 4/4 Grand Arena game mode card. Yeah, this is really crazy. Being a targeted copy that also gives +2.
It's so insane. Like Moon Girl, like why is Moon Girl being actually kicked onto the street? This is insane.
I mean, you can run this with Moon Girl.
Yeah, and then I play Moon Girl whenever I don't have this card. This is Moon Girl.
Or you play this before Moon Girl, and then you Moon Girl and you get an additional copy of the copy.
Maybe it's that. Yeah, I don't know. This is just
with Quinjet.
Why?
Too, so
I don't know why they're releasing this card. This card as is seems insane. And yeah, like you mentioned, Series 4. So hey, if you want to talk about Marvel Snap being a pay-to-win game, yeah, no, you can most likely get this card for free, as they've done pretty typically. So
I think this card's going to be good. I think Dance thinks this card's going to be good too. Mother of
I do.
Connie is going to be crazy.
I almost said Mother of God, because this is going to be insane.
Yeah, no, this card's going to be wild. And then the last card of the season, Dance, is going to be Storm, Horseman of Famine. The 3/1 Series 5 card. Objective. And 2 turns in a row with unspent energy. Give your other cards here and in your hand +2 power.
So this is a really cool card, but I think the big so again, all you have to do is skip like skip first turn, play like a Sunspot turn 2. You've done the objective, and then you can play her whenever. The biggest thing about this is that yes, you can put down a crazy amount of points with this card, but it is not a 3 cost in the end. It is going to count as this is much more of a 5 cost, is what I will argue for this guy. or gal, as it is, you need to spend this energy or use this energy earlier on. Similar to when, like I've mentioned before, with a or not I mentioned before, but it's already exists, right? With the Hulk evolved, with Sunspot, with Misty Knight, all those cards can use the extra energy, and you give them a bunch of use cases. So you can do all that fun stuff. But also then after doing all of those sick and awesome things, you're getting, in addition, a bunch of points onto everything in your hand and whatever other cards you have on that location, which is... So it's not just a 3 cost, it's a 5 cost. But what's the power of this card? It's like 20.
Yeah, so if you have 5 cards in your hand, this is a 5/11, and that's not counting hitting any cards on the board already. If you played a Sunspot, then this is a 5/13. And then if you play this even later into the game, potentially, you can get even more value with it. And I think you're thinking like high Evo. I think even with Surfer, like you still might be running like a Forge and America Chavez and stuff too. But like you just play off tempo with this deck.
I like that. And also, or just skip turns 1 and 2.
Yep,
because
exactly.
Again, it's concurrent.
Yep.
It doesn't even know if it works. It's not concurrent.
Consecutive. It's consecutive turns.
It's consecutive. Yeah, yes. But like she doesn't need to be on the board and see you skip 2 turns. You just have to skip them at any point. So if as a Surfer deck, good shout there. I like that. You skip turns 1 and turns 2. Do it. Pop off. Have fun. I like the high Evo shout. And the card I will shout most here in particular is Magus, actually.
Yeah, Magus is really good with this. So is Fallen One.
Yeah, Fallen One could be fun. That's going to be an interesting one. Fallen One's a card I do want to mess with more. But I feel like... But I like the idea of Magus in particular because he can just copy this ability. And it could be one of the 2 turns you skip. If for some reason you're playing your cards earlier on, you are just able to, on turn, if you play them on turn 2, skip turn 3, hit this card potentially, and then also on turn 3, you could play, I don't know, you have options for that.
Well, the cool thing you can do with Magus, by the way, like you're saying too, like if you float turn 1, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but you play turn 2, you float turn 3 to get this going, and then like this is perfect world. Then turn 4, you draw Storm Horseman Famine. And you play that on the same turn, like on the same lane or something with Magus, and then both of those will proc at the end of turn 4.
I think so, yeah.
They should, because you floated turn 3, and you're floating 1 energy on turn 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, you're still playing a Star-Lord deck. Like, it's just, you play this in a Star-Lord deck, too. So, like, you have the extra value of Star-Lord doing things as well. Like, yeah, no. There's a bunch of crazy stuff you're going to be able to potentially combo with this. It may be a little more niche and narrow, but there's a lot of different decks.
We didn't even talk Star-Lord, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different decks in the game that like aren't necessarily playing their maximum output of energy. You know, those first couple turns or even later in the game for just big combos. And I think this is easily a key example. And because this is objective, that also helps you a lot too to be able to set up your board and then be able to, you know, add value to cards. Like this isn't a card you have to tempo out. It's not a card you like have like there's so many different things. Like even like with hand buff, setting this up for like a Maverick. Like you could play this into like some Shu Lao things as well. And like you're playing off tempo and a bunch of stuff. And that Captain Carter. You play this onto a Maverick before you then also buff the Maverick again. Like there's a large variety.
There's a lot of options.
Yeah, you can do with this card.
I'm down with this. All right. Yeah, Storms could be a fun card. I'm excited to see. I'm just excited to see what they do, what this card is going to do, how the impact this card is going to have. I'm excited by this one. This is all right. Yeah, let's do it. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah. Now we need to rank these cards though, Dance. So. This is going to be interesting because I feel like this is in a way kind of similar to last season. I still like this season a bit more than last season just because like the variety is stuff. But there might be like a number 4A, number 4B. Like it'll be just interesting to see how we definitively kind of rank everything here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to do it. I think I'm still just going to go 1 through 8.
Okay.
And I feel like we've done this before in the past where it's just like we just say like, hey, there's a big gap between like, I don't know, 3 and 4 or whatever, right? Like I think we did that before where we talked about the Guardian season where we
Yes.
said, yeah, it was like Jack Flag and Star-Lord. And we said there is a big gap here between these and everything else, which whether I don't remember if it was that bar for bar, but it's that style of logic,
is
I think.
better than Jack Flag. Now we're looking at it in hindsight. So
that's why I was like,
Rex, then yeah, we were wrong there. But if we were to look at the number, is it 8? I think the number 8 card of the season, do you have Wolverine or Archangel at number 8?
Right, it's those two at the bottom as well. I agree for myself. I think it's Archangel.
Okay.
I'm maybe supposed to say the other one because it's the 4 cost. You know what? I'm actually saying Wolverine. And I think it might still be playable, and I'll cope it. But it's also like, yeah, I think it's supposed to be Wolverine at the bottom one because of the 4 cost. And 4 cost is a big thing typically to ask. Maybe it'll still work. Maybe it'll be fine. But I'm gonna go with Wolverine, the Horseman of War, as my number 8, and I'll go Archangel as number 7. I don't know if that's there. You could argue I could be sold either way. I think here, but what do you got for your number 8/7 here?
I think I have Archangel at 8.
That's fair.
And then I will probably put Wolverine. Well,
I mean, the only other card I feel like is going to be somewhat
I'm putting Archangel at 8, and I'm doing Ascani Sun at 7.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I think Ascani Sun's going to be good. I think I like the idea. I didn't talk about this, but I've been talking about or running a lot of like super giant stuff or whatever. Ascani Sun in a deck like that would be fantastic. As just I can on the final turn get like a 4 or 3 cost card in another lane, and all I've done is leave a card on the board. I like the idea there. So I'm definitely higher on Ascani Sun, but I see the argument. As my number 6, yeah, I'm definitely it's not this in the slightest here. I feel like my number 6. This is interesting. I'm honestly kind of like, I definitely think Ascani Sun is actually my next one. I think it's good. I'm going to just say there's a gap here. No, I guess it is just Ascani Sun next, but there is just a gap, I think, between the 7, 8 slots and then 6 and above. I think there is we'll see how big of a gap there is, but that's personally, I think, what I'd argue there. But then if I look to the next one, I do think we're talking about, I think Storm, actually.
You have Storm as your next
I feel like it's going to be Storm purely because you just have to fight for the location. Like, not even locations, but it's like you're going to have to make sure that not only do you have enough value at that location, you have to have enough value in your hand for Storm. And maybe it'll be fine. But as a 5, I'm going to argue the 5 cost thing. We'll see how, if I'm wrong here, this is one I could easily see me being super wrong about, but I'm really not certain about this one in terms of how much I really want to do with Storm. So I'm going to leave this as I think my 5.
Okay, so you went Wolverine, Archangel, Ascani Sun, Storm. I went Archangel, Ascani Sun, then I will go Wolverine.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go Polaris.
Yeah, Polaris is close there too. I see that one. Yeah, Polaris is right there, I think. I don't know if it's going to be... We'll see how good Polaris truly is. But like we've talked about, Luke Cage. Yep. Maybe it's enough to hit your own cards, which is what I'm going to maybe be building on this idea with, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could see that logic. So is Storm your next one? Would you say Storm's 4 for you?
I feel like my number 4. I don't know. I feel like Storm is going to be good.
Yeah, I also think the other cards that we have coming out this month are still good as well.
Yeah, it's just.
Which again, I don't even know if I'm trying to like say it like slight Storm really here. I think it's just like.
I think I'll do Techno OV virus actually.
I know. That's higher on my list because of my coping.
But
because
it's
I'll cope
like
with it. But
I like Techno Organic Virus a lot. It's just, is the ongoing power of Techno Organic Virus going to be enough power? And it's
Yep.
something I'm thinking about also, like looking at Doom 2099. Like Doom 2099 has a lot of power it can scale with, and it has big cards that go with Doom 2099 to allow you to have value in other lanes. And it really is going to boil down to what exactly you're playing it in. Like if you are playing it in Sauron Scar stuff, like totally, you're going to have the power
Sure.
and the bodies to help the ongoing. But I don't know.
There's a whole other world with, I think, the virus. I'm just saying that at this point. The virus that it's none of this stuff. And maybe you want to copy it. And maybe you're trying to copy that card a bunch of times. And that's one of the reasons I put Nico in my deck, because I was like, I feel like this is going to be really good here. But I also don't know if it's still enough.
Actually, no. So I'll do Storm Techno Organic Virus because I'm thinking about it and everything too. You still have to play the cards that get the +2 power from Storm in order to really get the extra value from Storm.
That's a really good shout too, honestly.
So I'm gonna go Storm 4, Techno 3.
You know what I'm gonna say with Storm is a weird shout? Drac Dump.
Drac Dump would be interesting. Or
I think
hand
that
buff.
could work. Maybe hand buff, but I like the idea of Drac Dump because you're typically you could easily float a couple of turns in there, I think, without much issue. And then you get to, if you don't play all the cards, you're then also potentially putting them on the board with your Drac or something else like that. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I like the Techno at 3. For me, I'm going to say Polaris at 4, I think is my logic. And then getting into the top 3, I'm going to put Stryfe 3.
Okay.
I can see it. There's a favoritism, I think, and Strife's just like not as exciting to me, and so I'm going to argue that's probably putting Stryfe where he is. Whether or not he's going to be there strength-wise, but like, there's always some personal bias here, right? But looking at it with that in mind, we have one of the top 2 as the same. We both have Mother Ascani as a potential top 2, whereas I have Techno Organic Virus, and you have Stryfe as your other. Tuck, who's your number 1 card that you think for this season?
So, Dance, I am jumping back and forth, I know, but I think we actually have the same top 3. I think I'm actually going to move my Stryfe to 3, and then I'm going to go Ascani, then Techno Organic Virus as my one. So 1, 2, 3 is Ascani, then Techno, then Stryfe. So I think I'm changing it up there. I've been just doing some thought process and thinking.
That's fair.
The
only rules that we're beholden to are the ones that we're choosing. So I totally get that. So Mother Ascani is number 2. Techno Organic Virus is your number 1?
No. Mother Ascani is my number 1. Techno Organic Virus is my number 2.
Got it. I thought you said the other way. I just thought I'd clarify. I do agree. I think that is where I am at as well. Mother Ascani is just an insane card, I think, personally. And I think there's a very good chance that if and when Shu Lao eventually is changed, it's different. And I think I'm going to probably be more reasonable about the card. But I'm also still thinking a lot of powerful things that can occur with there. So, yeah, I agree with that. Mother Ascani as the number 1 for both of us. We both, again, agree that Techno Organic Virus is our number 2. Number 3 for both, again, is Stryfe. You have Storm Horseman as your number 4, Polaris Horseman as your number 5. I swapped that with Polaris Horseman as my number 4, Storm Horseman as my number 5. Ascani Sun is my number 6, followed by Archangel and then Wolverine, both Horseman variants. Whereas your final 3 are Wolverine, Horseman, Ascani Sun, and ending out the list with Archangel Horseman, which we'll see how it goes. Yeah. I think the biggest thing that's going to change Archangel Horseman is, I think we mentioned it for a second. Does that +4 matter?
Yeah.
Because that is going to be a lot of points that we're potentially adding. Is it enough to make a difference? I don't know. I'm excited to see how that will work.
+3.
True. And Morgan Le Fay sucks.
Yeah. Also, does Zombie Galacti going to work with Stryfe?
No.
Because
similar way that Iron Lad doesn't.
So because the on reveal from Stryfe would not count because Iron Lad copies the text, so it wouldn't, right?
And also, what is it? Zombie Galacti chooses at the start of the game the cards that are infected. Stryfe has chosen no one.
Right.
It's copying the on reveal. It is not gaining all of its powers. And even copies of those cards, those Galacti cards, don't work, as we've seen multiple times. So, no. I'm just going to... No. That's my guess.
Just clarifying, because I know like I've seen some people like, oh, it's gonna be so good with Zombie Galactica. I'm like, I don't know, does it work or will it not work? But it makes sense if it doesn't work with.
I will be shocked if it does.
Yeah, because Iron Lad does not work definitively because it did not choose the cards at the beginning of the game to transform.
That's why, the game start really matters there. But Tuck, with that in mind, what you want to say handcuff as the word of the day at the end?
Sure.
If y'all made it to the end of this, use the word handcuff somehow in your comment. I don't know how. That's not my problem. But, what cards are handcuffed together? And that's the only reason why we're talking about handcuffs.
Yes, that is definitively as I look up.
Let us know what cards you're excited about for this season.
Yeah, let us know. And if we're right or if we're completely wrong about this. And we are going to post this on Twitter as well, our list for our ranking for our cards. So definitely respond to that, because the one who's closest potentially to what we think at the end of the season when we do our season recap will get a special reward. But yeah, we want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys do watch us on Twitch this week, because we do have drops going on. So definitely want to get some of those drops. You got the Datathon. And Dance and I didn't talk about this, but we have weekly login rewards coming back, which is absolutely amazing.
Oh yeah, we do have those.
Just super excited for that happening. And if you guys are buying the season pass, buy it through the web shop, because you will get a free Series 5 collector's pack if you buy it through the web shop. And that is just resources that...
That's the base one, right, too? Base and the premium version? Yeah.
Yes, both versions will give you just one. Like, you're not going to get, like, if you spend the 20 or whichever currency you use.
Buying the pass or whatever. Yeah,
buy it on the web shop, because you're missing out on a lot of resources if you don't do that. But thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys enjoy the video, definitely feel free to like, comment, handcuff, and Dance's mustache looks great, and then subscribe if you're new. It's been real. God bless, and laters.